Okay, let's dive into this. It's a fascinating story, really. How we went from feeling the rhythm of the cosmos to measuring every single second. This isn't just about clocks, it's the story of how we as a species learn to capture time itself. To really get our heads around this, let's start with a little thought experiment. Just for a second, imagine you wake up in a world with no way to measure time. No Mondays, no birthdays, no New Year's Day. Nothing. How would you even arrange to meet a friend? You couldn't say, next Tuesday at 3. You'd have to use the world around you, right? Hey, let's meet when the sun is highest in the sky, maybe 2 days after the next full moon. You can see how that gets complicated fast. And what about you? What about your milestones? How would you even mark the passing of years? Your birthday wouldn't be a date. It might be a season, or just a feeling in the air. You know, this wasn't some fantasy. This was the reality for our ancestors. They didn't see time as a number on a screen. They felt it in the sunrise, the changing of the seasons, the phases of the moon. It was a cycle, a natural pulse of the world. So where did our ancestors find their very first, most reliable clock? Well, all they had to do was look up. The sky itself, that was the original timekeeper. The cosmos, it turns out, provided this perfect, predictable toolkit. The sun's daily journey gave us the whole concept of a day, and its yearly cycle gave us the year. The moon's phases, well, that's where we get the month. And the stars, the shifting constellations, they were like a celestial farmer's almanac, telling us when to plant and when to harvest. Okay, so how did humans translate this giant celestial clock into something tangible, something you could actually use? They built their own incredible time machines, grounding all that cosmic knowledge right here on Earth in stone. To make these cycles real, they engineered these absolutely monumental structures. And we're not just talking about buildings. These were massive, working calendars designed to capture the light of the sun and stars on very specific, very important days of the year. And this is where it gets really amazing, because you see this universal human impulse. Look at this. On opposite sides of the world, you've got Stonehenge in Britain and the Konark Sun Temple in India. Totally different cultures, completely different designs, but the exact same idea, using massive stones to lock in the solar year. The engineering at Konark is it's mind-blowing. The whole temple is a giant chariot for the sun god, and it has 12 of these massive, intricately carved stone wheels. And each one represents a month of the year. And the precision is just astounding. See, each of those 12 wheels has 8 spokes. Now, those aren't just for decoration. They represent the 8 pars of the day, a traditional Indian unit of time that lasts about 3 hours. So the wheels were also massive sundials, tracking time not just across the year, but through every single day. This was time engineering on an epic scale. So this brings us to a fundamental choice, a fork in the road that every ancient culture had to face. Do you build your calendar around the predictable cycle of the moon, or the even more stable cycle of the sun? And essentially, 3 main systems emerged. You had lunar calendars based on the moon's roughly 29.5-day cycle, super intuitive, easy to follow. Then you had solar calendars based on the 365-day journey around the sun. These were way better for farming because they always stayed in sync with the seasons. And then, some cultures, like in ancient India, created an ingenious hybrid. And this solution was just brilliant. The lunar year is about 11 days shorter than the solar year. So to stop the calendar from drifting away from the seasons, Indian astronomers figured out they needed to add an entire extra month, an Adhik Mas, every few years. It's kind of like a leap month, designed to perfectly harmonize those 2 celestial clocks. So with all these different, brilliant systems out there, how did we end up with one single calendar that runs almost the entire globe today? Well, the story involves a Roman emperor, a tiny mathematical error, and a pope. It all starts back in 46 BC. Julius Caesar, he gets frustrated with the messy Roman calendar, so he brings in the Julian calendar. It's a pure solar calendar, 365 days with an extra day tacked on every 4 years. Simple, right? This system became the standard, and eventually, it was tied to the birth of Christ for its year 1, even though, fun fact, most historians think that date was off by a few years. But there was a tiny flaw in Caesar's math. A solar year isn't exactly 365.25 days long. The Julian calendar year was about 11 minutes too long. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, does it? But let that tiny error run for 1,500 years, And suddenly, your calendar has drifted by 10 full days. The first day of spring was showing up 10 days before the calendar said it should. So, fast forward to 1582. Pope Gregory XIII decides, okay, we have got to fix this once and for all. He introduces a new, more accurate calendar, the Gregorian calendar, the one we all use today. But first, he had to fix that 10-day drift. And the way he did it was dramatic. He just erased 10 days from history. People in Catholic countries literally went to sleep on Thursday, October 4th, and they woke up the next morning on Friday, October 15th. The days in between, they just never happened. Poof. And that brings us full circle. Humanity's quest was a success. We standardized and controlled time down to the nanosecond. But this whole journey, from a cosmic rhythm to a digital number, it raises one last really critical question. That's a powerful thought, isn't it? Time, which was once this vast natural pulse, the heartbeat of the universe, is now a number on a page, a notification on our screens. It's no longer something we feel as much as it's something we follow. The fundamental trade-off is this. We've swapped the cyclical time of nature, the repeating seasons, the endless loop, for the linear time of an invented system. A straight line that just marches relentlessly forward from one appointment to the very next. So the next time you check your watch or glance at your calendar, just take a second. Think about what that number really represents. It's the end result of thousands of years of human ingenuity, of people staring up at the sky and trying to make sense of it all. And the question is, in successfully capturing time, did we somehow lose our ability to simply feel it,